Hi everyone, I want to talk about the difference between a type 1 versus a type 2 error. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say we presented the null hypothesis as someone who is not guilty, and the alternative hypothesis would be guilty. A type 1 error basically means that you are rejecting the null and you should not have rejected the null. So what would that mean in context to the problem? In context to the problem, if you reject the null, in other words, you go with the alternative, you are basically saying that the person is guilty. But in reality, the person is not guilty. So that would be a type 1 error. A type 2 error happens when you fail to reject the null. In other words, you stick with the null hypothesis saying the person is not guilty, but in reality, they are guilty. So let's go ahead and look at what that would mean using a statistics example. Suppose we have 60% of people that like chocolate ice cream. That is the claim. That is the population claim. And in our hypothesis statement, the null states that 60% of people like chocolate ice cream, and the alternative is that less than 60% of people like chocolate ice cream. So if we were to gather a sample of a certain size and we would do a hypothesis test, and let's say we got some type of p-value, and depending on how low the p-value would be, we would either reject the null, or if we had a large p-value compared to a significant level, we would fail to reject. So a type 1 error would basically mean, in context to the situation, is that we reject the null. In other words, we don't go with the null and we go with the alternative. So that means we say that less than 60% of people like chocolate ice cream, but in reality, it is 60%. What would a type 2 error be in context to the situation? Well, a type 2 error is when you fail to reject. In other words, you stick with the null hypothesis and you are basically saying that 60% of people like to eat ice cream. So, in other words, it's saying 60% of people like chocolate ice cream, but really it is less than 60%.